Today I'm going to talk about all the reasons why you haven't been able to lose the weight, or at least lose it and keep it off. And spoiler, it's not going to be about you're on the wrong diet, not eating the right foods, you're on the wrong exercise plan. Because truthfully, there's endless ways to do this stuff and get results, but none of it matters if you can't get your mind in the right place. I know, I talk about it all the time. I'm going to keep pounding this until it finally sinks in. You have to focus on the mindset if you want long-term success. Alright, I know I'm supposed to save the best for last because this is YouTube and I want to make you watch all the way to the end. I'm not going to do that. Let's talk about the number one reason you haven't seen success. By far and away, this is your biggest struggle, and it's lack of patience, rushing the process, and focusing way too much on the result. And you may be thinking, how do I not focus on the result? That's exactly what I want. It's the whole reason I'm doing this, but the problem is results are not easy to come by, and there's going to be a lot of struggles throughout time. You're going to hit plateaus. It's oftentimes going to be slower than you think, and the more wrapped up you get in the result, the more frustrated you're going to get, the more disappointed you'll be, the more you feel like it's not worth the effort, and the more likely you are to quit, or at least at a minimum be miserable. And if you're miserable the whole time, you're not going to keep doing it. The thing is, it has to be a lifestyle. I know I say it all the time, and honestly, you probably say the same thing when you're actually putting in the work. You say, this is a lifestyle change, but here's the thing with lifestyle. It's not a lifestyle if you only do it if you're seeing the result you think you should get. It's not a lifestyle if you only do it when it's convenient. It's not a lifestyle if you only do it when you're motivated, feeling good, when there aren't challenges in life. It's a lifestyle because this is the way you change your life, and you're going to do it for life, which means you need to keep going and keep putting in the work regardless of what's happening. I did a poll on my channel recently about what sounds worse. I don't remember the exact wording, but it was basically putting in the work, monitoring nutrition, doing your exercise plan, but not seeing any physical progress, or doing absolutely nothing and gaining a lot of weight. Not just weight, but a lot of weight. And the results were basically 50-50. And if you fall into the group to do nothing and gain a lot of weight, this is the most important thing you have to start working on. Because here's the thing, you're eventually not going to lose weight. Either you're going to hit plateaus, which are just normal, everyone goes through them. You're going to end up with probably long periods of time where you don't see results for the work you're putting in. And if you keep quitting every time that happens, you keep setting yourself back. You've slowed down your metabolism from the dieting. Now you gain weight rapidly. You come back. It doesn't work as well, and you just keep starting over. And that's the thing, you always know you're going to start over again. You've always done it before, right? But now you're starting from an even worse position. So it has to start with continuing to put in the work. It doesn't even mean that you have to keep dieting, but you do have to keep regularly exercising and maybe bringing calories up and going through a period of time where you're not trying to lose, and take it in phases, because there's no avoiding this. Even if you get where you want to be, let's just say everything goes great, you get the body you want, you're super happy with things. Well, what does that mean? That now means you have to put in the work, and you're not going to see the physical result. And you may think, yeah, but I'm going to have the body I want, so it'll be easy to stay motivated and keep putting in work. But that's actually not usually the case. It's just you're so motivated by results, and it goes right back to square one. And this is almost everybody. Now that the results have stopped, it becomes unmotivated to continue to regular exercise and pay attention to what you eat. And these are things that are necessary if you're going to sustain your results. And this is such a surprise to so many people, and just part of why it's so hard to maintain your weight even if you get there. So no matter what, I don't care what you do, who you are, you will come across a time where you're not going to see the result, and you're going to have to keep going. All right, enough about that. Let's talk about another reason why you always struggle, and it's basically the expectations that you create, especially these unrealistic expectations of how much weight you should lose and how well things should go. Almost always it ends up being harder than you think, and because you feel like it should be so much easier and it doesn't happen that way, now you get really down. And the more you keep getting frustrated and disappointed by results and expectations, the less likely you are to continue to put in the work. So you're so much better off just going, hey, like no expectations, other than the expectation that you're going to give to yourself to keep following the plan regardless of the result you're getting. And this way, any progress you make, you'll be happy about it. This is why I always say, don't create weight loss goals with a deadline. It's like the worst thing you can possibly do. I've seen people who have had great results, but because they had this goal that they needed to get to a certain weight by a certain date, and they didn't reach that, now they just feel like they're failing, they beat themselves up, they go way off plan, step themselves back. No expectations, take what you get. Here's something I can almost guarantee you're doing, and it's killing you. Do you act based on emotions or do you act based on the habits that you've built? I'd be willing to bet you act on your emotions, and your emotions are never in your best interest. Most of the time, the things that you think aren't even true. Like, your feelings are real because you're feeling them, but you have to understand every feeling you have is triggered by a thought, and the thoughts you have are almost never true. So if you change what you would normally do because you get in an emotional state, you have almost no chance of succeeding. You have to be able to stop and basically do what you said you would do before you got emotional, and that kind of ties into the next one, which is kind of falling into the perfectionist, all or nothing mindset, waiting until you feel like you can give 100%. If you can't be spot on, there's no point. All this can oftentimes tie back to your emotions, but even if not, it's just a killer. You're never gonna be able to give 100% all the time for the rest of your life. And trying to be perfect is going to make it unrealistic and basically guarantee you'll never get there. You have to be okay with being more like 80% on most of the time rather than falling into, well, I'll be 100% for a while and then I'm going to give 0% until I can give 100% again. That's what you've always done, and that's why you've never been able to get there. Which is exactly why you have to look at the sustainability of not only your diet, but also of your exercise plan. There's no perfect diet, there's no perfect exercise plan. And the thing is, if you're just looking to do something until you're done, looking for the end, so to speak, you're gonna fail. Like, it's just never gonna happen. Even if you do get there, you can't be done. Like I said, it has to be a lifestyle. And if you just do something in the short term with no thought of what you're gonna do after, you just can't sustain results if you're not on a sustainable plan that you can do forever. So what is gonna be more sustainable? Allowing yourself to include some foods you enjoy into your diet, having flexibility with it, being okay with going out to eat, and enjoying your exercise plan, or cut out all carbs, no fun foods whatsoever, crushing yourself with brutal exercise that you hate. Are you really gonna sustain that forever? No. Again, slow down. Don't stress about how long it's gonna take, and in time, you're gonna get there. Another thing you wanna do is focus more on the now instead of either the future or the past. Both of those are gonna kill you. If you try to predict your future based on your past, you start saying things like, well, this is just the way I've always been. Because I've always done this, this is just what I'm gonna do. And if you do that, you almost in a way without realizing it, use being yourself as an excuse. Like you were just hardwired a certain way and there's nothing you can do to change that. No, you can change. Don't tell yourself you can't. And at the same time, don't worry about what might happen in the future. If you're so worried all the time about, well, what if I put in the work and it doesn't work? Or what if I fail? You're just basically predicting your future again. And you're much less likely to follow through with a plan, because if you don't believe it's gonna work, why would you put in the work? So you have to believe it's gonna work. You have to trust that it'll work and understand that, hey, maybe it's not going to be the best thing ever, but you're going to learn and you're going to grow and you will get there if you keep going. You're not going to get it right off the bat. It's not about having all the information and all the knowledge right away. What's much more important than any of that is having the grit and the willingness to not give up no matter what happens. People who have that mentality, they succeed. I can't tell you how long, but it'll happen. Along the same lines, you got to stop being so hard on yourself. Stop judging yourself. Stop treating yourself in a way that you would never treat anybody else, because it's getting you so down. The more you do anything that gets you down mentally, it's just going to work against you. It's so hard to stay on plan if you're always mentally in a bad place. And if you're beating yourself up and you're feeling guilty and you're feeling like you're a failure and all that, it's just not going to be a good situation. And you're never going to be happy. No matter what, no matter any of this stuff, I just want you to be happy. And I hope that's what you want too. I mean, it's probably the very reason you want to get in better shape, because you want to be happy and you think that will make you happy. And it can, but it won't. If you try to change yourself because you hate yourself. You have to do it because you love yourself enough to want to change. So what you need to do is start stopping yourself when you're talking to yourself negatively and say, how would I treat my friend in this situation? If they said the same things I'm saying to myself and they said it to me, what would I say to them? I just talked on my Instagram recently about if you just looked and saw somebody else who had the exact same body as yours, what would you think of that person? And I bet you would think that they look great. You would give them compliments, and especially if they were saying that they were fat or whatever else, you'd be like, no, you look great. And you would mean it too. But even though you have that same body on yourself, you should be ashamed. You're so fat. I hate myself. No, we gotta stop. Come from a position of love, not hate. Now, the next point, I want to lead with a quote that I've heard, and I think it was Tony Robbins, and it was basically, you don't get what you want out of life, you get what you have to have. And basically saying like, When your should becomes a must, that's when you see success. Like instead of I should work out or I should eat healthy or whatever else, it's I must. When you take the optional component out of this stuff, that's when you'll win. It's why you can't rely on motivation, because motivation is always going to come and go. You don't have to be motivated. Motivation is kind of BS. I'm actually going to do a future video about this, so I won't go off on a huge tangent about it. But think about like your job. You're not always motivated to go do your job. You certainly don't always want to do it. You're certainly too tired sometimes to feel like going to work, but you still do it. Why? Because you feel like you have to. It's not optional. Well, if you don't take this lifestyle and apply that same mentality, then you're always going to take the option out anytime life becomes inconvenient. You don't feel good, you're unmotivated, you're busy, you're stressed out, whatever else, you're going to take the option out. When you know you've really made it is when you don't even think about, hey, should I go work out anymore? I've been doing this for like 14, almost 15 years now. Certainly in the beginning, it was like, oh man, should I go work out? Do I feel like it or whatever else? Now, after all this time, it's literally never even a thought for me. It's just, okay, it's that time of day, it's time to go work out. Kind of like it's time to brush your teeth at night. And that's the way it needs to be approached. It's a non-negotiable, something that you have to do. And a way to help with this is to plan and schedule in advance. If you show me your plan and schedule for the week, I'll show you what you get. And if you're not planning anything with regards to your meals or your nutrition, if you're not scheduling in your workouts and you're just trying to fit it in where you can, you're not going to succeed. I mean, think about it. Unscheduled time just kind of has a tendency to go away and we don't even know what happens to it. It's one of those things where if you go in and plug into your schedule, like an actual schedule, much like if you had an important business meeting that had to be done, you plug in your time for exercise in the week, block that time off, and make sure you follow that. Plan in advance as much as possible with your meals. Set yourself up for success. What you plan and what you schedule is what you will get. So don't approach this stuff as, well, I'll just do it if it's convenient. You'll never win. And much like I said previously, okay, no all or nothing. Don't go too hard too long. Give yourself some breaks. Take some diet breaks. Make sure you're doing deloads occasionally, and just make sure that you're keeping yourself in a good spot, both mentally as well as physiologically. You can't just diet forever without running yourself into the ground. Don't look at diet breaks as some form of like a setback or delaying your results. It could be the very thing that actually gets you where you want to be. Don't know what diet breaks are or how to implement them? Well, I have a video you can check out up top next that covers what they are, why you should do them, and how to implement them. So make sure you check that out next. Otherwise, I think you'll like this bottom video instead, and I'll see you in one of those other videos.